Jesus, and we are in his the final aspects of his ministry upon the earth. And the topic this time, the heathen say innocent. The religious folks say crucify him. The heathen say innocent. The religious say crucify him. We're in the 23rd chapter. And we're going to begin with verse 13. Then Pilate called together the leading priests and other religious leaders, along with the people, and he announced his verdict. You brought this man to me, accusing him of leading a revolt. I have examined him thoroughly on this point and in your presence, and I find him innocent. Herod came to the same conclusion and sent him back to us. Nothing this man has done calls for the death penalty. So I will have him flogged, and then I will release him. Then a mighty roar rose from the crowd, and with one voice they all shouted, "Kill him and release Barabbas to us." Barabbas was in prison for taking part in an insurrection in Jerusalem against the government and for murder. Pilate argued with them because he wanted to release Jesus, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him, crucify him." This is the fact of the matter. The heathen saw him as innocent, but the religious people saw him as the one that they wanted to crucify him. I have mentioned that before, that, you know, in this campaign that we have, whatever year you may see this, you know, where we are reaching literally millions. You know, it's interesting. I've mentioned this before, that you have, you know, the antagonist, you have the atheist, you have the Satanist, you have the demon-possessed, but the ones that perhaps give us the more difficulty in doing it is the religious folks. And we understand that. We see that in history. You're on their turf. You're doing something that may be more profound as they see it. And so, you know, you're attacked just as much. It's really five categories, the four I mentioned, and then the religious. And so it's not unusual today when we see these kinds of things, because as Jesus would say, the student's no greater than the master. And so we are to expect that religious folks are going to have difficulty when you really talk about the things that have to do with relationship with God. And then you also talk about the things that happen when you don't. You know, it's interesting. People want to talk about the love of God, but they don't want to talk about the correction of God. They don't want to talk about the consequences if you reject him. You know, and it's just throughout the biblical record. But here we can see the heathen, they're just as culpable in the death of Jesus. But it's so interesting that those who are supposed to represent God don't actually represent him at all. In fact, they represent the contrary. Good. Father, we bless you. Thank you for